It's been over 30 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of East and West Germany. But is Germany really a unified country today? Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. I have some great news. As you guys might know, I had to close down my shop, felifromgermany.com, after the rebranding issues in October, but it's finally back up just in time for Christmas. Some of the products were updated with the new branding, but I also added some brand new products, including a whole kids collection. So if you have kids in your family and still need a Christmas present, maybe your family even has German ancestry, definitely check out the collection. You can get the Servus design for kids, or even an O-Zöpft is, it's tapped baby bib, that's probably my favorite design, or these t-shirts that say, Oma ist die Beste. Don't tell mama I said that though. I also have a brand new pom-pom beanie for adults. I have socks that say Hallo Servus, and of course some old classics like the German American t-shirt or the keychain bottle openers. Just see for yourself on felifromgermany.com. So this is the fourth video in my Ask a German series. If you haven't seen the previous videos, definitely check them out up here. So far I've answered the questions of why we call Germany Deutschland, what the most common stereotypes about Americans are and which ones of those are wrong in my experience, and what the best but also most overrated places to visit in Germany are. And today we'll get to a question that was ranked even higher than the one on the best places to visit in the poll. Is there still a divide between East and West Germany? Just like some of the other questions you guys had for me, this is a huge topic, and there's absolutely no way to include everything there is to say about it in just one video. I'll try to let you in on what the common knowledge is among Germans regarding this topic, but if you're interested in all the numbers and background knowledge, there are tons of documentaries, books, and other great resources out there that dive a lot deeper into the topic, so I'll be sure to put some links in the info box for you guys. And for all of you who don't have time to read a whole book right now, but are usually interested in more details than just the summary on the back of the book, I would recommend using Blinkist. Shout out to them for sponsoring this video. Blinkist is an app, or you can also access the website in your browser, that summarizes non-fiction books, so educational books for example, in just 15 minutes. So it's basically like asking a friend who has already read the book what their key takeaways from it were, except that with Blinkist you can access a few more books than you would be able to by asking your friends. They have over 5,000 titles in 27 different categories available, and you can either read the summary or, and this is my favorite part, simply listen to it. This book by Neil MacGregor, who is the former director of the British Museum in London, is actually a great follow-up to today's video, but also the one from last week about why we call Germany Deutschland. It's called Germany, Memories of a Nation, and Blinkist summarizes the key points in 8 little chapters.
Freshly liberated from concentration camps. But Germany's history is much richer than this. Though these blinks don't pretend to give a comprehensive history of the country, they do strive to deepen readers' understanding of Germany's development. So, let's dive into German history and explore some of the facts that lie beyond common knowledge. Blink number 1. Berlin's Brandenburg Gate, the most famous monument in Germany, has a bittersweet history.
So this is awesome to quickly understand the key ideas and therefore widen your knowledge and invest time in your personal growth, but also to decide which books you actually want to spend the time reading all the way through. And besides the book summaries, called blinks, they also have shortcasts, so short summaries of podcast episodes. Related to today's episode, you could check out this one, for example, that summarizes an episode on the Berlin Wall and escaping East Berlin from the podcast Dan Snow's History Hit.
What happens when you suddenly build a wall and divide a city? And I think the Berlin Wall remains one of the most audacious plots a government has ever carried out against its own people.
Hello everyone and welcome to the shortcast of Dan Snow's History Hit.
If you want to try Blinkist yourself, just click on my link in the info box below, blinkist.com/felifromgermany, and you'll get a 7-day free trial, and then if you like it, you'll get a 25% discount for a premium membership. So, after Germany had been divided into 2 different countries for over 40 years, the Bundesrepublik Deutschland, BRD, Federal Republic of Germany, also referred to as West Germany, and the DDR, Deutsche Demokratische Republik, in English, the German Democratic Republic, GDR, or also referred to as East Germany, the country was finally reunited in the year 1990 after the Berlin Wall had fallen the previous year in 1989. So the German history of the 20th century wasn't just influenced by two world wars that we were majorly involved in, or going from a monarchy to a democracy to a dictatorship within less than 20 years. It stayed complicated even after the end of World War II, when Germany was divided into 4 occupation zones: a British one, a French one, an American one, and a Russian one. While the Western occupation zones all became the Federal Republic of Germany in 1949, the country that still exists today, the Russians had a different plan for their zone and founded a socialist state. Some of the main things to know about the GDR, and this is a little simplified, are that they had a one-party system, with the governing party being the SED. They didn't have free elections. They had a planned economy instead of a capitalist system with a free market, so people often had to wait 10 years or even longer to get a car, for example, and there was only one model available throughout the whole country, the Trabant. And over time, there were more and more restrictions for the citizens. They were hardly allowed to travel, especially not to Western countries. The Berlin Wall was erected, as well as fences along the border, and the Ministry of State Security, the Stasi, Staatssicherheit, arrested and blackmailed everyone who talked badly about the system or who pursued illegal activities, such as watching West German TV or listening to West German radio, where they would play English-speaking music from the US or the UK, for example, or, of course, smuggling Western items into the country or planning to flee into the West. A lot of people got pressured into becoming spies for the Stasi and had to spy on their own friends and family. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend watching the Oscar-winning movie Das Leben der Anderen, The Lives of Others, that deals with this exact topic. Long story short, for 4 decades, the people in the GDR lived in a completely different world than the people in West Germany. They had different products, different media, very limited freedom, and a lot of them couldn't even trust the people around them. So obviously, it was a big change when the GDR was dissolved and included into West Germany. Since we have a federal system in Germany with different states, Bundesländer, the former GDR region is also often referred to as Neue Bundesländer, the new states. There are 5 of them that were added to the existing 11 states in West Germany. From the beginning, there were big efforts to integrate the new states as quickly and as well as possible, which included German citizens paying an additional tax after 1991, the so-called Solidary tax, Solidaritätszuschlag, or colloquially Soli in German. But the real question is, was the integration successful? Are there still noticeable differences between East and West Germany today, over 30 years after the reunification? The answer is yes. We've definitely come a long way, and it's not something that's super obvious or that people talk about non-stop, but living in Germany, you'll definitely notice that people still talk about the East or the new states or the former GDR in regards to the economy, politics, and other societal topics. One thing that the new states have been struggling with is keeping people around. Ever since the reunification, especially young, educated people have moved away to the Western states. It has gotten better now. There are actually more people moving to the East than moving away right now, but the population in those regions is still declining, partly because there aren't a lot of potential parents around, and prognoses say that it'll keep declining more so than in Western Germany. The last time the population was this low in that area was actually in 1905. As a result, you can find actual ghost towns in those regions, and with people consistently moving away for such a long time, it hasn't been a very attractive area for businesses either. Some bigger cities in the new states, such as Leipzig for example, have been growing a lot though, so that's a pretty positive development. Partly going back to what I just said, the fact that people and companies were leaving, the economic situation was pretty rough in the new states right after the reunification. About 80% of the people had to find a new job, for example. And even today, you'll still find a difference in salaries, among other things. In the new states, the average pay is about 20% below the average pay in the West. At the same time, living costs are a little bit lower in the east, but it's not nearly enough to even out in the end. Another pretty obvious divide between West and East that we've been talking about a lot these past few years in Germany has to do with politics. Especially the support of the far right-wing party AfD, the Alternative for Germany, is significantly higher in those regions compared to the rest of the country. While in the old states, the most votes usually go to the CDU-CSU, the Christian Conservatives, and the SPD, the Social Democrats, followed by the Green Party and the Libertarian Party FDP usually. The AfD usually comes in second place in all of the new states, and during this year's federal election, it even came in first place in 2 of those states, in Saxony and Thuringia. Plus, the left party, Die Linke, is stronger in the east as well. Being a former socialist country, it seems to make sense that the left party would have more support there. The AfD, on the other hand, is basically on the exact opposite side of the political spectrum, and there are different explanations as to why they find so many supporters in the east. People from there may have been feeling pretty neglected within Germany. They didn't grow up with immigration, especially not from Turkey and Arabic countries, and are therefore less open to immigration, and they also have a lack of trust in democratic institutions. And lining up with this political divide, you'll see a clear difference with other politically motivated topics as well, such as a lower COVID vaccination rate in the new states, for example. Socially, some noteworthy differences are that fewer people in the new states are religious, which goes back to the Communist Party in the GDR promoting state atheism. Most citizens left the church in the GDR. And the rate of working women is higher in the East, the gender pay gap is much smaller, and you can find way more women in leading positions in the East, which goes back to the fact that women were encouraged to work in the GDR and were provided with additional childcare services. Last but not least, let's talk about cultural differences. That's a pretty wide realm and really different from person to person, but speaking to people who grew up in the GDR, you might notice that some of them have a different taste in shows, movies, and music, for example, because they grew up with different media. A lot of them speak Russian because they all had to learn Russian in school, and they didn't really learn a lot of English, so the English skills, especially of older people in those regions, might be a little behind those in Western Germany. And some people also miss the good old times of the GDR, and there's a term called Ostalgie, which could be translated with Eastalgia in English. It's a mix of East and nostalgia. It might be hard to understand how you could ever miss a totalitarian system like the GDR, but these people have a shared memory based on a country that doesn't exist anymore. The cars, the way that things looked, the organizations they were members of at the time, none of that exists anymore, so some people miss that. As I said, there is so much more to say, and I'm sure many of you guys can share personal stories and observations. I would love to read some of that in the comments below. I myself was born after the reunification, and my family has always lived in West Germany, so I can't really share any personal experiences here, but overall, you can say that the divide between old and new states in Germany is definitely a topic that still comes up, but Germany is one unified country today, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you'd probably never even notice that it used to be 2 different countries. I hope this answers the question for you guys. Make sure to check out the other Ask a German videos as well if you haven't seen those yet. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for free, activate the notification bell, and if you want to, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook and support me on Patreon and buymeacoffee.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Tschüss!